Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. Now, Haas have to be the unluckiest team in Formula 1 history. Going back to their fairly humble origins, they started out alright as a team with a technical partnership with Ferrari. They got some good results in their first couple of seasons. Since then it's been all downhill. And first we had the rich energy drink saga for sponsors that didn't really seem to exist. And that fiasco ended with the sponsor being ditched halfway through the season. And I'm pretty sure they still don't exist. I've never seen a rich energy drink anywhere. So surely, having learned that lesson, there wouldn't be any more mistakes in terms of sponsors that Haas could make. And in their defence, they couldn't have seen the events of 2022 unfold all the way back in 2021, when they took on a Russian sponsor, a Russian driver, and painted their car with the Russian flag. Now, as it turns out, Nikita Mazepin and his dad, Dmitry, had links to Vladimir Putin. They were buddies. So it makes sense that, given the sanctions being placed against Russia and all the pressure, especially in the sporting world, against Russian athletes competing, that Haas have taken the sensible decision to ditch Nikita Mazepin. They make out that it's a very difficult thing to do, but actually he wasn't very good anyway. But the money he brought in was probably very, very helpful to them, and they now have to find a new sponsor, presumably. There's also been talks of who will replace Nikita Mazepin, and the obvious choice at the moment seems to be Pietro Fittipaldi, who I think they've announced will be testing the car in Bahrain for them. I'm glad to see him back. He did okay on his two drives for Haas back in 2020 when he was subbing for Grosjean. He wasn't spectacular, but Haas didn't have a car capable of producing spectacular results anyway, and he was pretty stable. He didn't really do anything wrong. He survived to the end of the races. There's nothing really bad you can say about his performances. So, I mean, with a test behind him and a whole season, it'll be interesting to see how good Pietro Fittipaldi actually is. Now, way back in 2021, I did a video predicting the Formula 1 2022 grid. And I did say in that video that Pietro Fittipaldi would replace Nikita Mazepin and we would have Fittipaldi and Schumacher in the same team. These two sperms of Formula 1 champions past who have grown up and are now competing in Formula 1 together. I didn't realise it was going to go down the way it did. I just thought Nikita Mazepin would suck and they'd get rid of him. It's kind of worked out like that. I'm not sure how good Haas are going to be this year. I don't know. Are they Haas or Haas? Whatever. I don't know how good they're going to be this year. They were by far the worst team on the grid in 2021. Different regulations. They may have concentrated almost fully on their 2022 car. It's going to be interesting to see if they can break into the midfield. As for other names linked with the seat, I've seen Oscar Piastri battered around, and I think it would depend on Alpine being willing to lend out their driver for what may possibly be only a year, but it would allow Haas time to sort of reorganise, get a new driver ready, get new sponsors ready. Nico Hülkenberg, whilst an interesting shout and someone who probably could do a good job subbing in, usually a very steady hand, it's been a couple of years and he's a bit too far removed from Formula 1, I think. I think his time is over. As much as I'd like to see him in Formula 1 chasing that podium to end that streak of... Is he the driver with the most races without a podium? It's sad. I'd really like to see him come back in a car capable of getting a podium and doing it. I don't think we're going to see him back. Kevin Magnussen obviously has links with the team, and he's only in the WeatherTech series this year. I'm sure he wouldn't mind stepping in, but I'm guessing again it would come down to sponsorship money. Could he get a package ready in time to fill that seat? I'm surprised Romain Grosjean hasn't been linked with it, but at the same time, he's with a bigger team in IndyCar. I think his time is definitely over in Formula 1. as much as I'm sure he'd like to sort of have a drive that doesn't end in a fiery crash, which is obviously how his career ended, I think he has too much going on in IndyCar right now to come back to Formula 1. So out of everyone, I think Pietro Fittipaldi is probably the best choice for Haas, followed by Kevin Magnussen, if they can get some kind of deal together for him. Maybe at some point in the season we'll see someone else in that seat, but right now I think Pietro Fittipaldi is the obvious choice. That being said, I'm sure Ferrari would have their say if they had a driver in their academy who was experienced enough to take that seat. Unfortunately, the only driver they have who is of age and probably has the amount of super license points necessary is Robert Schwartzman, who is also Russian and is backed by a Russian bank that has sanctions against it. SMP Bank, which I think had sanctions against it even before the war started. So it's unlikely we're going to see Robert Schwartzman in a Formula 1 seat ever, which I think is a great shame because he was a very capable driver, at least in Formula 2. And I think unfortunately his nationality is going to work against him now. That being said, there are Formula 2 drivers in the lower formula who aren't being chased out. Smolia, I think, is still racing either in Formula 2 or Formula 3. I'm sure Nikita Bedrin's racing something like, is it Euro Formula or Formula Regional? I don't know what Irina Sidakova is going to be doing because I think she was down to race in W Series. I can't remember if she actually finished high enough to guarantee a place in it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to these drivers. I don't know where Nikita Mazepin is going to go. I mean, if he can only race in Russia, the most obvious choice would be Russian TCR, which I don't think anyone outside of Russia watches. I've certainly never seen it. I know it's on YouTube, or at least there's clips of old races on YouTube. I can't imagine Mazepin stepping down to that, although it probably is about his level. I'm not sad to see Mazepin go. His leaving statement said that he was willing to comply with all of the FIA's demands. But it's tricky when you have individual countries like the UK saying they won't allow Russian racers or any Russian athletes to compete. Now, if it was the British Racing Organisation who said we won't allow Russians to race, strong stance to take, and it would have made the whole season tricky for Haas if they have to replace Nikita Mazepin at various races anyway. It would have just been easier to get rid of him, and I think for Haas's sake it's the right choice. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with their car. Obviously they might have a new colour scheme come the Bahrain test. They're definitely not going to be in Russian colours. Uralkali as sponsors are gone as well. I don't know how the loss of money is going to affect them, but given the circumstances I'm sure the FIA would help them out. They might get a loan or something. It's going to be interesting to see the season unfold. I was wondering if we'd get through 2022 without any major controversy, and yet we seem to be starting with it. So hopefully this will be it, and it'll be a fairly straightforward, exciting season of Formula 1 racing. Somehow I doubt it. It's going to be controversies at every race, and none of them anything to do with the racing. So I guess the last thing to say is I'm thinking fairly odds on that Pietro Fittipaldi will get a Haas seat. I don't expect him to work wonders, but I think he will be better than Nikita Mazepin was. So with that, subscribe to the channel, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.